Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the What? The series, and in this episode number 12, we're answering the question, what is customer acquisition cost? And is this the metric that will blow the minds of your future clients? So, in addressing the question, what is customer acquisition cost? There are 6 things we'll be sharing with you. We are going to give you a definition. We're going to think about why customer acquisition cost is so important, how you calculate customer acquisition cost, what your customer acquisition cost should look like, when to use customer acquisition cost, and what happens to your customer acquisition cost over time. Let's go, Alex. So if we are going to understand customer acquisition costs, we are going to need a definition, and we found one at insideintercom.com. And what they tell us is that customer acquisition cost is the best approximation of total cost of acquiring a new customer. So you will remember from video number 2, what is marketing, that if you are proactively marketing, you are effectively in the business of buying customers with your time, with your energy, with your money. So the customer acquisition cost, according to Inside Intercom, is the approximation of what that cost is. Now, I love this definition apart from the approximation. Why are we approximating? Let's do the work and let's understand exactly what your customer acquisition cost is. So now you understand what customer acquisition cost is, you might be asking yourselves, why is this so important? Well, there are 4 reasons why customer acquisition cost is so important. The first is about your bottom line. So if you are spending money on acquiring customers, which you are, if you are proactively marketing in your business, then that will have an effect on your profitability. If you are spending too much to acquire customers, then your profitability will be lower than it needs to be. The second is what 4 entrepreneurs call a startup killer. So what they tell us is that even if you have a great product in a great market and your targeting is right, if you have underestimated your cost of customer acquisition, your profitability won't be where it needs to be. You could go out of business. Now the third reason is about understandability. So we are on video 12 in this series, and what we've communicated so far is that people don't really understand marketing, but everybody can understand this. So your bosses, your clients, if they don't understand what marketing is or why marketing is so valuable, they can definitely understand if you explain to them that you are in the business of buying customers for them, and if you can buy customers more cost effectively, that will improve their profitability. Everybody can understand this. And the 4th reason that you want to be thinking about cost of customer acquisition is because this data is available to you. So you might not get from your clients your profitability, you might not get the overall turnover, but you know exactly how much you're spending on acquiring these customers, and you can do this calculation all by yourself. So hopefully you're hearing me and you're thinking, yeah, this sounds really important. I would love to understand what my cost of customer acquisition is. How do I calculate cost of customer acquisition? And it sounds complicated, but in truth, you could do this on the back of a cigarette packet. So all you need to do is take all of your sales and marketing costs. So all of the marketing salaries, all of the sales salaries, all of the money you spend on advertising, on cars, on computers, on subscriptions, so that's email subscriptions, social media subscriptions, all of the money that you spend on creative, on developing websites and ad campaigns, all of your time, all of your energy, all of the money you spend on space, renting space for these people to sit in, and all of the money that you spend on agencies, and you divide that by the total number of customers that you have acquired in that period. So whilst here, Inside Intercom are telling us that this could be an approximation, this can be an approximation in the first instance. As you go forward, you want to get more and more accurate with these figures, but in the first instance, you could ask somebody in a second, how much are you spending on sales? How much are you spending on marketing? How many customers are you generating in a year? Your cost of customer acquisition is X. But because you're sharp, you're telling me, but this isn't perfect, because some of this money that I spend on sales and marketing goes on retaining customers. So it's not about new customer acquisition. And that's absolutely fine. That is exactly what you should be doing. But in the first instance, this calculation will give you the best approximation of what your cost of customer acquisition is. Okay, so now you have calculated your cost of customer acquisition and you are probably a little bit shocked and you probably need to have a sit down and you're thinking, well, my cost of customer acquisition is X, but is that a good cost of customer acquisition or is that a bad cost of customer acquisition? And we were thinking the same thing. So we went out and we looked for what is a high cost of customer acquisition. And we found this definition at Clipfolio who tell us that an ideal LTV, that's lifetime value, versus cost of customer acquisition should be 3 to 1. The value of a customer should be 3 times more than the cost of acquiring those customers. So what they're saying is if you spend $1 on acquiring a customer, you should get $3 back. And now you might need to have a sit down, because what essentially Clipfolio are telling you is that the ideal cost of customer acquisition is a third of your turnover. So that's 33%. So if you are selling at a margin of 20% and it's costing you 33% of your turnover to acquire a customer, you are effectively losing 13% every time you sell something. So the more effective your sales are, the more effective your marketing are, the quicker you will go out of business. And this is why 4Entrepreneur describe this as a startup killer. And this is why I'm telling you that this will affect your bottom line. So if you aren't calculating your cost of customer acquisition and it's 33%, you are going out of business. So I think this is high. But then I looked further. So we went to cmosurvey.org and they do a survey every year to see how much people are spending on marketing. And they found that the average is 11.1% that businesses spend of their turnover on marketing. Now, interestingly, Gartner did a similar survey of the top 500 and they found that the top 500 are spending 13% of their total turnover on marketing, which is 20% more than the average. So what's interesting about this is that this is only the marketing cost. This isn't the entirety of the marketing and the sales cost. So I can tell you for sure that your sales budget could easily be twice what your marketing budget is, which gets you to this 33%. So if you aren't calculating your cost of customer acquisition, you need to start doing that right now, because it could be that you are selling yourself out of business. Which brings us then to point number 5, and point number 5 is the question, when to use customer acquisition cost. Well, when I like to use this is if I'm pitching for a new client. Heaven forbid I have to sit in an interview over again for a job, but if I'm pitching for a new client, I will ask them, what is your cost of customer acquisition? And they will go blank and they won't know what I'm talking about. And in a 1 minute, I can explain to them, if you engage me, I will be in the business of buying customers for you. And the more efficiently, the more cost effectively we can buy those customers, the better your marketing will be. And like I say, you can do this calculation on the back of a cigarette packet. So if you ask somebody in an interview, what do you spend on sales? What do you spend on marketing? How many new customers are you generating? You can give them a great approximation right off the bat that probably their cost of customer acquisition is 33% of what they're doing. 33% of all their energy is going into acquiring new customers. So if I can pitch them and I can say, I'll be here to make that more cost effective, more profitable for you, they will understand and that will get me the job. So I would use cost of customer acquisition in interviews and in pitches to get you clients. Then once you're with the client, what you need to do is you need to track this weekly and monthly and annually. Now you will know that the actual costs of a business are only really allocated at the end of the year. So you will only have the actual number once a year. But every week you can be reporting to your clients, to your bosses, and you can say our cost of customer acquisition is here. This is the metric that you use to win clients and jobs and keep clients and jobs. Which brings us then to point number 6, which is the question, what happens to customer acquisition costs over time? Well, the good news for you is once you've won this job or this client, what will happen to the cost of customer acquisition is immediately it will go down, because there is waste here. There is money that is being wasted on salaries, on advertising, on cars, on computers, on subscriptions. There is waste here. So once you start looking at this and start driving efficiency with this, immediately your cost of customer acquisition will go down. Now, over the long term, it's reported that your cost of customer acquisition is likely to go up. And this kind of makes more sense. If you're running PPC campaigns, then maybe your cost per click will go up over time. Maybe once you exhaust some of the market, other customers are going to be harder to come by and the cost of customer acquisition will go up. But as long as you can demonstrate forever that you are in the business of acquiring customers profitably, then you will keep those jobs and you will keep those clients. So if you are still with us, well done. You now know exactly what customer acquisition cost is. You know why customer acquisition cost is so important. You know how to calculate your cost of customer acquisition. You know what a good cost of customer acquisition looks like. You know when to use cost of customer acquisition, and you know what is likely to happen to your cost of customer acquisition over time. If you have found this interesting or useful, be sure to check out video number 13, What is Customer Lifetime Value? If you've enjoyed this video, please take a second to like, share, subscribe, maybe comment. Maybe there's a piece of marketing jargon that you would like to see defined in this fashion. If you found it really interesting and useful, why not head across the Effective Marketing Company blog and subscribe there, and you will get this marketing jargon bullshit busting goodness in your inbox every single day. We're done here, Alex.